Hi, I'm Wes, the Explosion, and while I've talked about the first issue of Mega Man Timelines previously, what about some of the covers? There's 13 of these things, and getting them all would not just be a Herculean task, but also pretty darn expensive too. So for fun, why not give them all a peek and imagine what they'd look like adorning our mantle? Shelf, display case, shrine, or whatever people use to show off their commercial goods these days. Cover A by Kenny Ruiz and Noiry is the main one you're gonna see, and from what I understand, is supposed to be what's most representative of what's inside. As you'll see going forward, a lot of the other covers are just kind of for fun. Proto Man doesn't show up in the book at all. Neither does the entire cast of the main timeline. But to focus on this one, Kenny Ruiz is also the artist on the book, so this cover matches the overall look. This one's just the stage select from 11, but with a lot more personality. In the game, the bosses are just kind of hanging around, but here, you get Blockman giving you the side eye, a more detailed but largely eclipsed shot of Acid Man, more of a smirk from Blast Man, Fuse Man looking kind of annoyed as he leans back to avoid being covered by Mega Man's knee, an overhead view of Bounce Man that somehow looks more threatening, Torch Man igniting, Impact Man in your face, and Tundra Man trying really hard to be seen, but failing. All of them match up with their positions in the game, with what looks like a CRT filter over their screens. Meanwhile, Mega Man's leaping out of his box, eyeing you up, Buster at the ready, with his other hand pulled back like he's gonna punch you. What more can I say, other than I think it's really great? The other upcoming issue ones have a similar boss select sort of layout, even the ones that didn't have it in-game, and not only do I enjoy the art style, but I also like how each Robot Master is positioned in response to how Mega Man is moving. Pretty good! Cover B by Jon Sommariva is Mega Man blasting through a ton of Mets. A lot of them have their mouths hanging open, perhaps in surprise, perhaps in a battle cry, perhaps trying to look silly and non-threatening, though there is one gritting their teeth in anger. Guess Metals have teeth. Luckily, very few of them have their helmets down, so Mega Man can just shoot through all of them. Though with this being 11, he would have options to deal with that, even if they were trying to protect themselves. As for Mega Man himself, he has one foot forward, his Buster's hot, and he has a strained, open-mouth expression, so it looks like he's running forward, trying to escape the Horde before they can dogpile him. And this is quite the army of Mets. I count about 55 of them, which, with how some of them overlap and how I can only see the toesies for others, is probably not accurate. Still though, I think we all know the pain of having to get through a bunch of these guys, it's sometimes feeling like there's dozens of them, even if Mega Man doesn't have to deal with the pain of waiting for them to open up here. Plus, they are almost the mascot for the series. While most prevalent in Classic and Battle Network, they appear in some capacity in every iteration other than Legends, and they do play a pretty big role in the comic itself, so a cover with them is a good idea, even if the execution is a little overwhelming. Cover C, though, is just a blank space, other than the series logo and issue price publisher bubble. While it might seem a little weird for nothing to cost a bit more than something, I think the idea is that it could be anything. If you have a favorite artist you can commission, or run across somebody that's worked on the series at a signing, you could have them do a custom sketch for you. For instance, you could have Ian Flynn draw Sigma Goatsy for you. That's a joke, don't actually harass Ian Flynn with such a crass request. The man's a treasure and he does story, not art anyway. Also, don't look up what I just said. And hey, if you're feeling really cocky, you can even scribble your own little doodle on the cover. See, look at that. It's on the book, so it's canonical. Anyway, this seems like the sort of thing that those who are really into the convention scene would be into. If you have a plan, you might want to get a few, so that you can really put together a unique collection for yourself. Cover D by Andrew Dickman is a lot. It's got a more cartoony aesthetic and features every character from the series. Well, not really, but there is a staggering number on display. It's a wraparound cover, so fold it in half and keep the part with Mega Man on the front. He's the primary figure, with Roll hanging around his neck, Proto Man and Zero following close behind, Duo with Tango on his shoulder not far off, and while on the back, Axel, Beat, and Bass about to slam dunk Bodos, being pretty prominent too. We also got Wily along with Reggae riding a slap together Sigma, the one from X6 looks like, and then there's everyone else. What's interesting to me is how they're organized. A few cliques are formed more by game, like the Bonds being together, the Navigators from X8, and the Colonel keeping Iris close, but the rest are more by theme rather than any sort of camaraderie. You get the Frosty guys, the Flame lads, and even the Stretchy boys, with Nana looking traumatized in the middle, all grouped together. For the large bosses, there's the giant Reaverbot from the Fire Ruins, Yellow Devil, Gamma, and General looking over everyone else, and the guys that can fly are flying, with even a few ships like the Flutter and Rogarmer's Storm thrown in. There's so much here that I feel like I could take an hour just going over everything, and maybe I will sometime down the road. If there's just one other thing I can say about this cover though, it's where's X? With everyone else here, that seems like a pretty major omission, and I feel like he has to be here, I'm just missing him. I'm not even sure what armor I should be looking for. Then again, even if this has characters from all across the series, this issue is one for Classic, so maybe they just wanted to limit it to Classic Mega Man. Come to think of it, I don't see Bonut or the ZX4 either, and Zero is his version from X, rather than Mega Man Zero, so maybe they capped this one at a single protagonist. Or maybe I am just missing all the important folk. It would be fun if they did one of these with the main character as a focus for every issue 1, and you could connect them all into one giant collage, but at this pace, I think they'd run out of characters pretty quick. Either way, this might be the most fun cover since you can spend a lot of time combing every inch of it to find new characters that you didn't notice before. I'd say this is the one that I'd recommend, but while I got my in-store copy for $5, Udon's site has it listed as $20. If you can get it cheap, grab it. If you can't, well, maybe still if you're a collector or just really like playing I Spy. Maybe they could turn it into a poster. The Udon online store exclusive by Keenbiscut is probably the one I'm most excited to talk about. It looks like there's going to be one for every first issue, featuring 4 female characters from the series in question. I really love the style here, not just for how the characters are drawn, but also with those extra lines coming from the center, some looking like lightning bolts, but all of them seeming like the sort of flair you'd see in graffiti art. There's also some game sprites sprinkled in, 2 of Mega Man, an Extra Life, Roll, Amet, Heat Man, Snake Man, Cut Man, 2 Tanks, and even the Wire Capsule from 4. As for the ladies featured, I find it very interesting who gets chosen. With how man-heavy Classic is, I imagine this one was a little tight. Roll's obvious, Kalinka's not much of a stretch either, and Splash Woman, the only female robot master you fight, is also a shoo-in. Picking Plum from Battle and Chase though, a game that wasn't even released worldwide initially, is a bit of a deep cut, and I'm not sure how many people would actually recognize her. Then again, she was also in Mega Mix. Either way, it kinda makes me think they might have been desperate, and if it wasn't for her, they probably would have had to fall back on Honey Woman, who only has concept art, so thank goodness someone remembered her. As for how they're posed, Ro looks pretty comfortable, sitting in front, wearing her outfit from 11. The issue is based on that game, and with it being her latest appearance, it would be considered her most up-to-date wardrobe. Plum sits just a bit behind her, one arm reaching forward, I imagine holding a camera to take the group shot, with the other hand either making a peace sign or trying to angle her fingers behind Roll's head to give her bunny ears. Splash Woman is at an odd angle, and given that she mostly works in the water, right side up ain't exactly imperative for her. She looks a little annoyed though, with one eye closed and frowning, her trident actually cutting between the group, almost like a threat. Maybe that's because Kalinka seems to be making some sort of dynamic pose with a goofy open mouth expression, which could be to liven up the photo or just to stand out, though it does kinda push Splash Woman further to the back, though the tip of her tail hanging over Kalinka's arm is a nice detail. On the whole, it's a very fun image and probably my favorite overall. Might have been tied with the last one, but the premium price on this thing means that I have to like it the best, so I could be lying to myself a bit. Afshari Comics has 2 by Sukesha Ray. These feature Mega Man and Proto Man, and if you flip between them, a lot of the details match up. The backgrounds are the same, a destroyed city casting light from probably a fire up into the night sky, with some really nice colors and one of those weird ball tower thingies from Bomb Man stage off to the side. To the left of each Robot Master is their DLN, along with their original Japanese name in both English and, surprise surprise, Japanese characters. Mega Man's got the crease lines in his suit like in 11, whereas Proto Man has his shield, scarf, pompadour-ish tuft of hair, and shades that are, yes, separate from the ones built into his helmet, because we're never allowed to see his eyes. There's an image of him like that from 8, it's canon. Besides that, they have some scrapes to serve as evidence that they've been in a fight, and the way the light shines off of their suits make them seem almost rubbery. Some of the proportions also seem a little weird, like their helmets looking pretty round, while conversely, the busters looking straighter and more cylindrical. Mega Man also looks a bit taller and his limbs a bit thicker than what I'd normally expect, but that might just be to make his frame match up with his older brother. And with how you can overlay the two, that might also explain why some of their shapes seem a little odd. While I think this makes both look a little weird at parts, at the same time, I think they look overall pretty cool, and I'd say these would probably be the preferred covers for big fans of either, but I think all of these going forward are exclusives tied to specific brick and mortar locations, so unfortunately, if you see any you like, your options are pretty limited. Tardy's Collector's Corner cover, by Giang, is very aggressive. You get Mega Man, but you can barely see most of him since the main focus is the buster shoved into our faces. That seems to be charging. I'm not anxious, no, not anxious at all. What we can see of Mega Man is pretty detailed, his armor looking shiny like metal, and there being a lot of seams and parts to his suit. Maybe it's just the contrast to the last one, but his arm looks like a twig again, and his mouth, and kind of eyes too, look like they were just painted onto a tin toy. Maybe that's the point, maybe he's supposed to look like some sort of metal action figure, but the simplicity of his face makes the details of everything else with all the crazy light reflections stand out all the more. I'm somehow reminded of the Fully Charged comic with this one, though maybe that's just how shiny some of the surfaces are, maybe it's how Mega Man's floating in a pink void here, but regardless, this might be the most dynamic of the covers. We get another pair featuring Mega Man and Proto Man, for Spectral Comics, done by Huy Dinh. While oriented in opposite directions, both are in a pose where they look ready to blast you at any time. Both have one leg forward, like they're either mid-leap or just tensing up to spring into action, both of them have light reflecting off of their armor, and both of them have the seams in their bodysuits like in 11, not just Mega Man. Both of them also made that silly streamer mistake, where they have a solid color background to make it easier to edit out and replace with different scenery, but didn't realize that it matched some of their clothes, making them partially invisible. Come on, guys. It's a neat style though, and I bet you could do some visually interesting things with either, if you did get rid of the primary color. I couldn't find any images of the Top Shelf Comics exclusives, but they're done by Jimbo Salgada, with Alex Sinclair. What does the with mean? Shouldn't it be and, or am I overlooking some nuance? Anyway, I only know they exist due to the last page of issue 1, which has a spread of the available options. Will showing this get me in trouble? Actually, wait, found some line art. Looks like this wraps around the back. Anyway, Mega Man, standing in the moonlight atop a pile of junk with a pretty cool pose. Eddie, flying up with a propeller that I didn't know he had, reminding me more of a stage enemy. And a number of Dr. Octopus tentacles rising up to grab him? Huh. Didn't know this was a crossover. I feel like I should remember a Wily machine or boss that this could be referencing, but I'm drawing a blank. Looking the first artist up did bring up some Marvel artwork, so maybe it is just a Spider-Man influence, though mechanically grabby claws does fit. There's two versions of this, one having the aforementioned moon, which is yellow and orange and gives off a reddish light. The other has yellow lines rising into the sky, as if Mega Man is radiating electrical energy. Both are pretty dramatic, especially that first one, you getting a more fiery lunar light, rather than the typical white on black night sky. It honestly seems like it'd be more at home on a Darkstalkers cover, which is another Capcom franchise. Plus, given Shademan's level and the Ghost and Goblins Easter egg, and the Boktai crossovers with Battle Network, while this sort of spookier feel isn't the first place my mind would go when thinking of Mega Man, it isn't completely foreign, and is a pretty fun vibe when they do go for it. I'd actually really like to get my hands on the Moon variant, but unfortunately, that exclusivity. The next top-shelf comics cover by Erik Elizarrez has a pretty crude-looking Mega Man firing at... I can identify 5 Robot Masters from 11, Acid Man's Buster being the only part of him I can see. That and the exclusions seem pretty weird, and... this is another wraparound, isn't it? Dang. Oh well, I'll go with what we got. Mega Man's kinda doing the jump and shoot pose, with some of the proportions feeling a little exaggerated, especially on his Buster and head. And while I say crude, I don't mean to imply rushed or sloppily done. It feels very stylized, not too many fine details to just sell you on the major parts of the character design. Hence how I mentioned the head and arm cannons stand out. The style reminds me of... something, but I can't quite put my finger on what. If someone wants to help me out on this, it'd be appreciated, but the way he looks makes him come across as pretty tough, rough and tumble, which has its appeal. As for the bosses, they look pretty faithful. The line work is distinct, so you can definitely differentiate their features. The main weird thing is just some of the positions they're in, likely to get them all in the shot, which we can't see the full scope of. Does look pretty neat though, so I really wish we could. Hopefully someone will post the scan at some point, though I think this is another good one. I went over issue 0's cover previously, but they did release a special variant that we can discuss quick. This one's by Chamba, and I want to say that it was used as a promotional image when the comics were first announced. You get the protagonist of each of the different series, all looking towards the camera with a determined look on their faces, a hand steadying their weapon, except for Zero, who only needs one. Maybe he's getting ready to grab you with the Zero knuckle with the other. And there's a light source from behind them to cast their shadows forward. These are being cast from the legs, and with the way they're arranged, one leg shadow overlaps with the Mega Man standing in front of them, driving home that no matter how similar or different they might seem, no matter how far apart in the timeline, they all are connected. On that note, there is a specific order to things. Classic front and center as the starting point, then it alternates left and right as the pattern goes back for series order. X, 0, ZX, Legends. And that's pretty much it, other than noting that we get a Model A from ZX. Can't see wires or a ponytail hanging from behind, so at first I was questioning whether this was meant to be a toss-up, whether it was Ash or Gray, but seeing the hint of a scar on the cheek, and Ash's prominent hair just being harder to cover up, this marks him as Gray. Still interesting that they went with one of them though, given that I believe issue 1 of that book will feature Vent, but I guess using either Model X or ZX would look a bit too similar to the other characters here, so this was probably done for variety's sake, so that more casual audiences wouldn't think that this was just going to be the same 1 or 2 guys, 5 times in different art styles or ages. Not a bad image, though this was also on the inside cover, at least for the issue 1 I got, so it seems a little silly to flip it on the outside and charge a bunch for it. You can order this on their site though, so at least you don't need to live somewhere specific or pay a premium on eBay. I kinda doubt I'll go this hard on issues 2 onward, but I am pretty invested in at least the first batch. I picked up cover D from my comic book shop, the Where's Waldo one, and have the standard cover A and Udon exclusive quadruple girl cover, which comes with a metal card as a bonus, on order from Udon. Put a few other things on that invoice though, so I'm still waiting on those, but don't take this as me bragging about my lavish spending habits. This is mostly to cover my butt since, while I think I nailed all the wraparound covers, if I missed one, it's because I don't have it in my hands to pour over. I also considered just skipping right to the X timelines for discussing the covers, since that one's set to come out in about a week and a half, and is the most hyped of them, but there still seems to be some variants that haven't been revealed yet, so consider this a test and prep for that, assuming people are interested. That'll be another day though, so for right now, be sure to let me know which of these covers were your favorites, and if you managed to snag any of the rare ones for yourself. Or if you just got the basics, those are cool too, I'm not about to shame anyone. With that, thanks as always for watching, and maybe consider subscribing if you're into retro games, especially Mega Man. For everlasting peace.